3.5 minutes on the clock. The Miami Dolphins were holding a narrow lead over the Las Vegas Raiders, but the game wasn't sealed yet. Everyone watching knew this was the moment. Miami needed a final statement, something to put the game out of reach. The ball was snapped, and all eyes locked on quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. He rolled to his left, scanning the field. And then, there it was. A connection that's becoming a hallmark of this season. He found his guy. Not Tyreek Hill, not Jalen Waddle, but Jonnu Smith. Smith, the tight end who steadily carved out a vital role in this Dolphins offense, didn't disappoint. Wide open, he snagged the pass and took off, making defenders look like they were stuck in quicksand. 57 yards later, he crossed the goal line, leaving the Raiders stunned. That touchdown not only sealed a 34-19 victory for Miami, but also cemented a fact that's becoming harder to ignore: Jonnu Smith is the guy Miami can count on when it matters most. Let's talk about that performance. 6 receptions. A whopping 101 yards. 2 touchdowns. And he averaged 16.8 yards per catch. Those are not just good numbers, they're game-changing numbers. Only Tyreek Hill caught more passes than Smith that day, but even Hill couldn't match the sheer impact Jonnu brought to the field. It's not just about the stats, though. It's what those numbers mean for this team. Jonnu Smith's emergence as a go-to target didn't happen overnight. Since Week 4, he's been quietly stacking impressive performances. Take Week 7 against the Colts, for example. He caught all 7 of his targets for 96 yards and a touchdown. That game showcased everything that makes him dangerous: his ability to create separation, his reliable hands, and his knack for turning short plays into big gains. It's not just a flash in the pan either. Week after week, Smith is proving he's a key piece of this offense. His consistency has been striking. This season, he's averaging 11.5 yards per catch, trailing only Hill and Waddle on the team. But what really sets him apart is what he does after the catch. At 248 pounds, he's a nightmare to bring down, combining his size and speed to bulldoze through defenders. Through Week 11, he's already racked up 249 yards after the catch, forcing defenses to respect him every time he touches the ball. He's not just a tight end, he's an offensive weapon. And it's not like this came out of nowhere. Back in training camp, there were hints that Jonnu Smith might have a big role in Mike McDaniel's offense. He was lining up in all kinds of formations, catching screens, running flat routes, even taking handoffs. It was clear McDaniel saw potential in him, and now we're seeing that vision come to life. Whether it's Tagovailoa under center or a backup quarterback stepping in, Smith has been a constant. Even during the rough patches of the season, when the offense struggled to find its rhythm, Smith was a bright spot. It's impossible to talk about Jonnu Smith's rise without mentioning Tyreek Hill. Hill has been the Dolphins' undisputed top receiver since he arrived in Miami, and for good reason. His speed, his ability to break games wide open, it's unmatched. But this season, things have looked a little different. Without Tagovailoa in the lineup for part of the season, Hill's production took a hit. From Week 2 to Week 7, he managed just 164 receiving yards, a far cry from his usual dominance. In that same stretch, Jonnu Smith put up 229 yards, showing that he could step up when others couldn't. When Tagovailoa returned, Hill got back to being Hill, putting up big numbers and reminding everyone why he's considered one of the best in the league. But here's the thing, Smith didn't fade into the background. Over the past 4 games, Hill has 229 receiving yards, and Smith isn't far behind with 212. That's not just a coincidence. It's a sign that this offense has evolved. It's no longer just the Tyreek and Waddle show. Smith has forced his way into the conversation, and it's clear Tagovailoa trusts him when it counts. In fact, when you compare Smith to Waddle, the numbers are striking. Smith has more targets, more touchdowns, more first down catches, more receptions, and more yards per game than Waddle this season. And his yards after the catch? They blow Waddle's out of the water. It's not about knocking Waddle, he's still an incredible player. But Smith has emerged as a legitimate number 2 option in this offense, and some might argue he's even challenging Hill as the team's most reliable weapon. Beyond the stats and the big plays, there's something else Jonnu Smith brings to this team: leadership. An 8-year veteran, he's been around long enough to know what it takes to succeed in this league. And in Miami, his presence is already being felt in the locker room. After his monster game against the Raiders, you'd think he'd be soaking in the spotlight. But when reporters asked him about his performance, he was quick to shift the focus back to the team. For Smith, it's not about personal accolades, it's about what this group can achieve together. That mindset has been a cornerstone of the Dolphins' success this season. As Smith put it, I think that's what's so special about this group. Just eliminating the egos, eliminating the me mentality, just focusing on the team. Just doing what we're supposed to do. We rallied, we experienced some adversity, and we're pushing through it, and that's why it's such a special group. There's no denying that this Dolphins team feels different. They're not just winning games, they're doing it with a sense of purpose, with players like Jonnu Smith stepping up in ways no one could have predicted. As the season rolls on, it's clear this team has something special brewing. And Smith? He's right at the heart of it all.